generations.
The one true identity that I think we really need to find is our roots in terms of our rich African heritage. That still has been, for the most part, denied. We have not gone back to really find out who we are and how we contributed greatly to this society.
To understand a history that is not a history based in slavery, but a history based in royalty, based in some of the first architectural systems, some of the first engineering systems, some of the first governmental systems. If we understand that, that helps us then to flow in our purpose for today, because we recognize where we've come from.
If you don't know who you are, then you can't relate to others. If you can't relate to others, then you don't feel good about yourself.
I set out in a pretty impossible task. I decided to put together the entire history of African Americans as much as I could, the whole puzzle, piece by piece, in a visual and comprehensive way, like a timeline. But in this age of computers and, again, videos, it had to be visual, it had to be on display. Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, began to recruit free persons of color in the North for the first African-American regiment in the North, the legendary 54th Massachusetts, which was featured in the major motion picture Glory. The first African-American congressman was elected from Louisiana in 1868. It was John Willis Menard. George Washington Carver, agriculturalist, scientist. He found many uses for peanuts, peanut plants, peanut oil, and he revitalized, really helped revitalize the Southern economy. The first person to reach the North Pole, to actually reach the North Pole, was not Admiral Peary. It was on his expedition. It was a black man, polar explorer Matthew Henson. The first successful graduate of West Point was Charles Young. He became a colonel. He would have become the first black general, but he contracted nephritis in Liberia and eventually died of that. The greatest ambassador this country ever had, I'm not talking politically, was Duke Ellington, Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington, a great orchestra leader, composer, who led a band from the 1920s through the 1970s. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., this leader of the civil rights movement, he really was so much responsible for civil rights in the South and integration of schools. One of today's great black heroes is Colin Powell, hero of Desert Storm, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. You can be anything you want to be if you have the knowledge, if you can gain that knowledge. In this country, you've got all sorts of opportunity. And I think going back in your past, you know, Alex Haley said it best, you don't know where you're going. You can't know where you're going if you don't